Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. It's Gord, your hurtin' hippie, and we are talking on Saturday before Father's Day, so I am doing an ode to my father. There isn't a person around that I have more love and respect for than my father. If you think I've been through a bit of a ringer through my life, that man's been through more. He is now 88 years young, and he still lives alone in the house that up until 4.5 years ago, my mother shared with him. He was married 58 years to that beautiful woman, and he still respects her every single day and misses her. And he looks after himself at 88 years young. I'm really proud of him. Let's throw it over to a montage so you can all see him too, and then we'll talk. That's the man that protected me throughout my life. He was a wonderful father as a young man. I tended to be a bit wild. I got myself in a fair amount of trouble, and he was strict. He was a strict dad, but all the trouble I got in never took away the love and protection he felt for me and the rest of the family, of course. Huge respect for him. He protected me from my bullies. He stood up to my bullies just as I have stood up to my own sons. He understood and respected the need to be strong yourself and taught me to get past things and to live stronger and feel better even when the situation is the worst it could be. Nobody on this earth prepared me better for fatherhood than that man. I'm going to be all over the place on this because this is an ode to him. This is what made this man, and I'm going to miss him when he goes, but I have a feeling he's hanging on for quite a while still to come. When I was young, there was a couple of different times my dad almost had to fight people for me. There was one time me and a bunch of my bandmates, I was in a band. We were all sitting on a rubber dinghy on the side of the house, actually a rubber tube on the side of the house, and we were high. We had just gone to the park, had a joint, came back, and Dad didn't know this, and we're all singing. And Dad's in the back mowing the lawn. And a neighbor a couple houses down is pulling his weeds, and I don't know why we got to sing an Old MacDonald, and this guy thought we were teasing him. Next thing we know, he ran and he just jumped onto all of us and grabbed one of the boys, James, my best friend, and was choking him, and I went to stop him and he hit me. Well, I ran to my dad. My dad stopped the lawnmower, ran over, grabbed the guy, and must have thrown him 10 or 15 feet. And then the guy came up and walked straight up to my dad's face and said something about, your kids were singing bad things about me. And my dad just looked at him and said, take your best shot. It'll be your last. Get off my property. And the guy stood up to him like a couple of times like that and realized Dad wasn't kidding. And believe me, Dad's no taller than me. That guy turned his tail and ran. One of my favorite memories as a child. But you know, Dad didn't just stand up for me. When I was having trouble in my marriage, he went out of his way to find my now ex-wife and try and talk her into making things work. He believed in family above everything. Everything. Family above everything. There was nothing he did that he didn't first think, what does it mean to my family? How does it affect my family? Does it affect my family? And should it? Should he be doing something that does? He barely ever went out on road trips, although CP sent him out, and he was very careful and always brought something home with him when he did. He was not quick to temper. He was not quick to temper. He was tough. He was strong, and he was strong-willed. You know, I remember asking him at 14, can I smoke cigarettes at home? And he said, absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. I don't like that you're smoking at all. You're not smoking around me. It's bad for kids. It's bad for adults. It's just bad. And boy, I wish I had listened to him. I did not. I did not. He is the man that when I married a second time, and at 44 I was marrying a 21-year-old woman, he told me, he says, before you actually go through with this, you better be prepared to be a dad again. You can't go and marry a young woman and not let her be a mother. So that will have to be her choice, son, not yours. And I listened to his advice, and thanks to him, I have a wonderful 10 and a half, almost 11-year-old young man that I love dearly. I love being a father. I understand why he loved being a father. He grew up in a difficult home and said he'd never give that to his children. And in all the time that I lived at home, I remember him really angry twice. That's not bad. That's not bad. I don't remember him ever drunk, ever. Nor my mom. They'd once in a while have friends over and have a drink or two, but even that was seldom and far between. He wasn't a drinker. He taught me a lot, and he had me prepared. I was 18 years old, and I moved out of the house 1,000 kilometers away by myself, and I was prepared. I was a man at 18, and he made me that, and he reminded me of things that we're scared to talk about nowadays, is that the man is the strength in the household. There is nothing wrong with that. That is not patriarchal. That is not misogynistic. That is, on average, the male is the stronger of the species and has to work all their lives. That's, he prepared me. He said, Gordon, unlike your sisters, and he was a little wrong on that. Unlike your sisters, you will have to work every day of your life until you're a really old man. You better find something you enjoy. He never gave my sisters that advice, and I wish he had, because they had to work mostly every day of their lives too. So was he a little bit in the old world? Of course. Of course he was raised in that world. But he always respected everybody around him. I'm going to finish with my favorite story of him that shows where, even though I'm pretty sure most of my hippiness comes from my mom and her love, joie de vivre, her love of life, I do think a fair amount came from my dad also. My favorite story of Dad, I had just come to visit him and my mom. After he retired from work, he bought an old Bluebird bus and built it into a home for him and my mom. And they lived in that bus for 25 years, most of it at a gold panning campground. And he taught gold panning, and he lived a beautiful, comfortable, really meager existence with her, and they loved it. And he squatted on the campground. They loved that because he helped out a lot. And he was the resident expert on almost everything, and Mr. Fix-It. He even worked for the campground for a while. And he had built quite a nice little home around his trailer. He skirted up this big bus and made it a home, and built a garage, and built his own handmade park benches, 3 of them, one at the entrance to the place, one right by his side door of his bus and one by his garage so that they could sit around and look at their garden and built Mom a rock garden. That's a big lead up to this. But I remember every time we went to visit him, those 3 park benches that he made, beautiful woodwork, beautiful workmanship. And we showed up there. It was the first time I brought my new wife from Latvia. I brought her to come and visit Mom and Dad. And I noticed he only had 2 park benches. The one leading into his driveway was missing. I said, Dad, you're missing a park bench. Is it broken? And he says, no, somebody stole it. You're kidding me. And he says, no, someone stole it. It was a couple months ago. And really? Well, what did you do? Did you call the police or anything? He says, no, Gord, why would I do that? Obviously, they needed that park bench a lot more than me. I'm almost finished its replacement. It'll be there in a minute. Why do anything else? And that was the epitome of my father. You don't make waves unless the waves are really important. And that's a good life lesson for us all. If it really isn't important, he used to always say, let the baby have its cookie. You know, if it isn't important, why make the baby cry? Just give him the cookie. Love you, Dad. Love you, Dad. Today, a little known fact, I always end on that. Donald Duck comics were banned from Finland because he doesn't wear pants. Oh, you Finnish people. Peace and cheers, friends. Love and harmony. We will catch you on the other side. I do not know if there will be a Father's Day video. That's why I'm doing it today. Peace.